In London, nationally and abroad in Malaysia, and features on BBC Radio London, and also appeared on BAFTA-winning Sky Arts TV and Life and Rhymes.
Yes, of course, and she released her debut EP, Triple Threat, in February this year, and continues to create and perform for various platforms. So, assalamu alaikum, Sami. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, no, it's great to be here. Thank you for the beautiful introduction. As you mentioned, I do quite a few things. I'm a spoken word artist, author, writer, host, coach, you name it. And yeah, I would like to say I'm an all-round freelance creative. Anything that involves inception to close, I'm there.
Inshallah, mashallah, Allahumma barik.
Ameen, ameen. It sounds like you've been busy. So poetry from the age of 9. So when you're speaking about creative, this is from a child. You've been in that creative zone. So tell us a little bit about how it all started.
Do you know what? It's funny. Poetry is from 9, but writing is not from 9.
Oh.
Believe it or not, my earliest memory of writing was actually in year 2. I was tasked as a class to write a short story, so beginning, middle and end. And then my friend Bubbles and my teacher said, hey, you know what, why don't you write a little book? I was like, a book? I'm only a kid, I can't write a book. That was kind of my reaction. So I wrote a book which had a basic beginning, middle and end, good punctuation, and my teacher was like, well done. Like, you've actually engaged me with a simple book. But in terms of the poetry, again, back to school. So when I was 9 years old, we had a competition to write about the Millennium Dome. So this was like the year before it was actually going to be built. So they wanted to encourage young writers. I was like, what's this big thing that they're going to build in London? I was just like confused. So I wrote a short piece, and they selected like a handful of poets from different schools to actually get this published in the Young Writers book. And then again, when I was 10, another competition came. They're like, you guys write about the opposite sex. So us girls had to write about boys and vice versa. So a piece called Boys got published. And then they were like, again, the following year, 11, as your final year in primary school, they're like, can you write about the world? And I was like, there's a lot going on in this place. So I wrote a piece about the world. And again, that got published. I was like, oh, is this just for fun? When you're young, like any opportunity to do competitions, you're all like for it, right? So I was just so excited. I was like, let me do this. But then I kind of put poetry on hold. I kind of, as you do, I've got a piece in my book called How I Got Into Poetry and Rhyming, in fact, to talk about the journey. And then it went into the playground. In high school, I think there was a bit of love for like hip hop and rhyme when I was younger. And we used to get into like MC battles and clashes in the playground, and just mock around. Yeah, just mock around, just to pass time, right? And then I was like, yeah, I love rhyme. So Sami Rhymes actually was given to me. It's a name I inherited from a young age. And I carried it. So when I was going to release my first book, I was like, do I use my government name or do I use my pen name? And I was like, there's something about Sami Rhymes. I love to rhyme. And it defines what I do, so let me keep that name. And
catchy name.
It's like a cross between Samira and Sami Rhymes, so it's like the same kind of syllables, and it just, it's just stuck with me since, really.
Yeah, some do, don't they? Because like Akala hasn't put his full name on his book, it just says Akala. But it's what people know you by, so alhamdulillah, because this is the name that you want to kind of build your reputation on, mashallah.
Absolutely.
And you've done, so far, it sounds like you've already been doing a lot. You've done bits, mashallah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I put it on pause, but to be honest, like, it was only like summer 2019. 2019 was like a kind of a like life-changing year for me, a lot of things going on. And because my #1 reason for writing poetry is to release, I said to myself, okay, I'm going to write a book. A lot of people used to ask me in my earlier days of poetry before I used to, like, when I used to perform in uni and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I put it on hold. It's not something I want to do. But I kept writing for me in the background. I just stopped sharing. I was a very private person. I still am quite private, but the difference is when you want to create and make an impact, you've got to kind of share to as many audiences as possible and stuff. So I think for me, I just kind of picked it up. I threw myself in a deep end. I did a poetry slam, and it was like 3 rounds, literally. And it was like, hey, round 1, share.
You like putting yourself under
pressure. Yeah.
I do, and I think
throwing yourself out there.
When you do that, it challenges you to create something that you wouldn't normally create. Anyone can sit down and write about what they're passionate about after doing research and stuff. But when you put yourself in a deep end, you trigger yourself to kind of just like put put things on paper like, "Ooh, I did that."
Yeah.
You know, you surprise
sort of
yourself
a bit of imposter
sometimes.
syndrome after you kind of do it, isn't
This
there?
is it. This is it.
I resonate with that a lot actually, because I'm, you know, from a young age myself, I've been writing poetry, and it is a release. I noticed how you said that kind of word, release, because you write it, you might write about how you're feeling, or you might write just about stuff that's going on, and your kind of emotional reaction to it. So I love that. So what does it mean to you? Like, I know you said release, but you can see the passion in you, right? So tell us a little bit more about
I think poetry for me, it's like a love language, you know, not just one language, all 5 languages, because we are gifting people, we are taking our time, we are showing love, like literally. And for me, it's a form of expression. And, you know, whether or not I share what I write, I have got a message always in there, and there's a purpose for jotting this thing. Sometimes I could talk gibberish and I don't care, because I know I've released my gibberish and it's no longer a mess in the head, and it's out there now, you know. And when you're ready to share it, you will. And if you're not, then, you know, at least you have, alhamdulillah, released it, and it's good. So that is my main thing for me. It's like my outlet, it's my love, my baby, and my release, literally.
Your baby.
My baby. It's all right for morning TV.
I love that. I love that you said it as a love language. It's like all 5 of them, in fact. I love that, because it does, I think, being creative, because myself, I'm not, like I was saying in the
You're
off
creative,
camera,
just not
I'm not a poet, but I'm creative. I like to draw. So that's my, you know, outlet. And especially when I'm going through something, like I just mentioned my dad passing, but when he did pass, at the time, one way that I kind of coped with that was I drew a picture. I drew a picture of him, you know, kept that in my pad, and that was my way of kind of like releasing. And I think creativity it's a channel, isn't it? You know, I mean, when you're writing, do you feel like you're channeling, you know, certain things from within yourself, like literally, you know, how you're feeling about things that you're going through, you know, is that what it is? Like, I know we just spoke about it, but give us a little bit more on top.
100%. Sometimes I feel like I can't actually explain what's going on in my head. And when I'm in that position where I'm like, poet, lost for words, I'm like, you know what, just put it in poetry, write it down, rhyme it out, and then release it, and then it all makes sense to me. So for me, that's very important, you know, to be a creative, regardless of whether it's poetry, art, music, whatever it is that you do, release in a way that works for you, and have something that you can refer back to. Like, be it visual, as you said, or whatever, you know. Creativity is in all of us, it's everywhere, and it's just a beautiful thing, and it's something we all need to tap into. When we're not doing the 9 to 5 or grinding, just release, switch, and tack into it, because it triggers all emotions. And, you know, sometimes we just need it, you know, to switch off. And how do we get through a pandemic without creativity? We can't, you know, everyone tapped into it.
Everyone started buying, do you know how much flour just was flying off the shelves because everybody just became a baker overnight?
There you go, that's creativity in itself.
Alhamdulillah.
So it's Black History Month, and it's also National Poetry Day. So what have you got marked for this month and this day?
You know what, National Poetry Day happens every year, but I'm one of them ones, and likewise, Black History Month, 365, like, I'm black, I'm a poet, and them things matter to me 365 days a year. So I appreciate we live in a society where it takes a date being marked in the calendar or a catastrophic event to kind of say, hey, look into this, or hey, think about this. But, you know, poetry is like one of the most thought-provoking art forms out there. You know, a poet can stand on a stage with nothing but their lips and words and make a difference. And as a black person as well, unfortunately as well, we are one of those disadvantaged races. You know, we are underrepresented, we are underpaid, lots of things, you know, and people don't get taught our history. From a young age, when we go back to school and the curriculum, and what poetry teaches you there, and what Black history was taught in school, you're just like, what? There's so much more. So as individuals, we need to take time to go out there and research and find out what it is about Black history, you know, Black history, Black present, Black future. Like, we are the Black future. We are literally here to create an impact.
Do you incorporate what you're saying into your poetry?
I do. Like, a lot of my poetry is about my identity and how I feel and life experiences, you know. I've had experiences as a result of being a black female Muslim. And I thought to myself, if I'm going to do a debut EP, let me do identity, because I cover 3 areas which are most hated in the world, you know, literally. Men are always favoured over women. It is what it is, you know, that's society. You know, Muslims face so much Islamophobia and hate, you know, we're either victims, scapegoats, you name it. And, you know, and also blacks, unfortunately, as well. There's so much racism. Yes, I'm not saying racism doesn't exist amongst other races. Of course it does. But, you know, black people get it the worst. And it's not just about racism and trauma, but to understand our history, you need to understand the racism and trauma and things that have happened over the years, because it's not history. It's present day. It's happening still. And things, yes, are slowly changing. We are slowly doing better. Corporate organisations are making sure they're bringing in speakers, they're informing people. The schools are now trying to update the curriculum slightly, so it's not just about slavery. There's so much more to it, which is good. You know, so slowly we're getting improvements, but, you know, there's still a long way to go.
There definitely is still a long way to go. And it's definitely about, you know, making people aware. So, alhamdulillah, I think I listened to your poem last night, I Can't Breathe, and it really touched me because I understand, you know, I get it. Woman, black, Muslim, I understand, I get it. So and when I was watching the crowd, actually, I was watching the reaction to it, and it really is so heartwarming to see people receive it. You know, because that's what's important. You know, you want that message to be received. You want to spark conversations about these things, because in order for us to go forward and to create a better future, we do need to address the things of the past. It's not about sweeping under the carpet, and just because it might be a difficult subject, we have to have difficult conversations, and it doesn't matter what time of the day it is. We have to have these conversations. It is what it is. Do you know what I mean? So it's fine, you know, but it's good because it's another way of expressing it. You know, it's not just somebody standing up on the stage and sounding angry. It's expression. You can see the emotion in it, and I think that's important. It's key, and it's good for the future. You know, the future generations to see as well, to inspire them. You know, that they can hold their own and, you know, be proud of their identity, whichever race they come from, and whichever, you know, it's important. So in terms of this month, though, I know you've got something planned tonight that is, you know, you're going to be on the stage already.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So tonight, can you believe, like, I've been put forward to be representing the poets in the clash. So it's like rappers v poets. Hammer and Tongue, great platform in London. I did a feature for them last summer, I think? Yeah, just before the doors were open up to the wider world. So it'll be great to perform for them in person. It's literally 3 rounds where the poets will do a cappella, perform with like some musical background, and then just a round 3, which is like a surprise round. It could be diss tracks, it could be bigging up rap and poetry, but either way, the audience will vote who's winning. Is it rappers or poetry? And there's a fine line between the 2 art forms. I get classed sometimes as a poet that can rap and vice versa. Like, so for me, I'm not dissing rap as such, but I prefer words. I'm a lyrics person. I'm all about messages, hence why I lean towards more the poetry side. We're versatile. You know, sometimes the rap culture, I'm not gonna diss it, but like it's negative about the lyrics. Sometimes it's just, you know, it gets personal. It's always about, you know, cursing people or about drugs, money, you know, and it's not the type of beneficial music. Or people listen to it because they like the beat and the music, and again, that's a distraction in itself. So for me, art form is messaging and sharing important stuff. So
really
I
positive.
stick to poetry. So it should be a good night. It's down at the book club. So if anyone's free, I believe there's still tickets available, like link in bios.
So that, I mean, that is, it's really nice to hear that, you know, you kind of stay away from the negative side and stick to the positive side. And it's not just a release for you. It is actually, you're an artist as well, right? Tell us a little bit about your coaching.
So I'm also a creative coach. Well, by day also, I'm also like a project director, project management. So I do a lot of things. And but I've always kind of been in the creative industry. So I've been working in creative agencies for like the last 7 years or so anyway, just managing kind of like marketing projects and so forth. So the coaching aspect, essentially, I help people with burnout and anxiety to kind of get through A and B with their creative projects. So someone says, hey, Sami, I'm looking to get a track out, or hey, I want to get a book out. So a lot of people, especially with books, come to me and they're like, I need help. Like, help me self-publish, help me structure, help me that. I'm actually going to be on a panel next week about publishing books, where I'll be performing as well. It's a fundraiser for the Survivors Trust. So the focus will be abuse, women, and but also opportunity for poets and artists and audience members to understand the process of, you know, going from A to B and publishing a book. So that will be on the 13th next week in Twickenham. So
Inshallah.
my day is never the same. I vary what I dip in and out, and I made that decision to become a freelance as a result, because like, even though I've been working full time most of the year as well as a contractor and stuff, I still dip into a lot of things. Like in my last contract, I literally had to take days off, and when I was doing my days off, I was running workshops for kids, and it was like, I need a holiday. So like last month, I just stepped back a bit and I was like, time to get out of this country, relax, switch off, and just take a bit of a pause, because it was just so needed, you know.
And I think that's important to remember, isn't it?
Yeah,
that
definitely.
even though you're doing works that you love, you still do need a break.
We're human. We're human, and I'm not here to get burnout. I don't want to, like, even Islamically, we have, the body has a right upon us. We need to make sure we don't overdo it. Like, you know, yes, give our all, max it out, you know, but when you realise it's getting a bit too much and you're not functioning well, you have to step back and take that rest.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw something about a self-care workshop on your page, actually.
Yeah,
So it is, because we can get caught up in doing these things and encouraging other people, and then just forget ourselves. So remember to take a minute, sis.
That workshop was up in Birmingham, so the Art Gallery blessed them. I did a residency for them at the start of the year, and then they invited me to come back in summer to run a workshop on a topic of my choice. And that weekend just happened to be International Self-Care Day. And I said, you know what? Mental health is a great topic to tap into. Definitely. It's universal and it's applicable to all ages. So you can imagine, I didn't know what age group was coming, what demographics. The youngest was about 7, I believe. And then the oldest, well, people don't talk about their age, but, you know, were much older parents. So, you know, there was that combination of a son and a father coming, and, you know, he said to me, I had the ability to switch off and understand what poetry can do, the power of poetry. And that alone was just such a beautiful thing to hear. Men don't talk about their feelings.
Yeah, of course.
So the ability to use poetry to get a man to talk about his feelings and switch off, for me, I was
and
just
he's
like,
doing it with his son as
great.
well.
With his son, that was a
Mashallah.
beautiful thing to kind of witness. And I was just like, there's no end to it. So I'm like, more of this. Like, so I started facilitating this year. Like, I was like, you know what, it is something, it's an opportunity to give back. So sometimes I do workshops as well from time to time.
Gosh, I'm inspired.
Yeah,
you're doing so much, so creative, poetry, writing, workshops, project management, mashallah. But right now, we are going to hear your poem, aren't we? Let's make history. So whenever you're ready, Sami, you take the floor.
Exclusive. I'm a direct descendant of a long line of legends, honourable men and women, worthy of more than honourable mentions, the masterminds behind a number of inventions. But when they talk about our history, they never bring our successes to your attention. Many messengers were sent to teach us lessons, and there's also an army of ancestors who've left an impression, from freedom fighters and victims of aggression to martyrs who died rejecting transgression, and warriors who persevered during times of racist regimes, onslaughts and oppression. They worked hard to draw a line between freedom and oppression, but these days we work hard so we can draw dimes from our pension, journeying through this life cycle in full suspension, giving the dunya our undivided attention. Allah is the greatest. He's blessed us with a talented tribe of instigators and creators, founders and makers, narrators and liberators, a generation of change makers, the inspirational kind, leaving legacies behind. And now it's our time to do our bit for mankind, create and leave something behind for future generations to find. Let's lay down those stepping stones that will ease their climb to the top. We're only here for a minute, so now is the time, ready or not, to act and create an impact. Don't know about you, but I'm hungry for change. In fact, take note, because I'm trying to be the change. I've got a thirst for everything, and there's a thirst for everything, from Adam and Hawa to my morning Hawa, and the ticking clock that acknowledges every hour. And as we draw closer and closer to the final hour, let's ask ourselves, are we really making the most of our hours? Thank you.
SubhanAllah.
Wow. That was really,
Takbir.
really, really, really
Allahu Akbar. No, that was deep. felt that one.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what? Even if I'm asked to do something light-hearted, it'll always be deep and have a message. And I hope people can take the message from,
I was going to
that
say,
one
what?
too.
Light-hearted where? you don't even look like you can do light-hearted if you tried.
I can. I've got some very light-hearted, funny poems too.
I
but
love
yeah.
the part where you said, I am the change, because even in Islam, we know that it has to start from within,
Us,
you
yeah.
know? So the fact that you want to make changes by using your poetry, by writing, it just kind of, it drew me to that part of it in the poem.
And this is what it is. Let's make history. You know, Black history is not just about what's happened in the past.
Yeah.
We're the generation
Yeah.
that need to leave legacies behind for our future generations to find, quoting from the poet. Like, literally, we need to leave stuff behind. So when I write a book, that's Sadaqah Jariyah. Future generations are going to pick up the book and read and be like, okay, I picked up this. Like, you know, this was a young Black female Muslim in her 20s at the time that wrote something. And, you know, when I'm in my 20s, I want to be able to be in a certain position as well, you know. She broke down barriers, she challenged stereotypes, and that's what it's all about, you know, making sure that the younger generation don't listen to what society say negatively about them and go out there and do what they got to do.
Yes, subhanallah.
That's a really, really good message to end on, Sami. That really is.
Allahumma barik, man. I'm definitely inspired today. I mean, I feel a bit in awe, in fact.
Yeah. So much to take away and so much inspiration and, you know, such powerful words. And, you know, I wish you every success on your journey. I mean, thank you.
Jazakallah khairan for joining us. Okay, so we're off to a break and we're going to join us after the next part of the show.